We're joined once again with our sports director, Andrew Schnitker, and host of the Blitz on Friday night at 10:45. Of course, all your high school highlights. We're talking a little college now. Let's mix it up. Game tonight. That's kind of near and dear to my heart, of course. Mississippi State, LSU on a Thursday night in Starkville. What do you think?
Well, Thursday nights, you know, we were just talking.
Right.
Thursday night games can always be a little bit fluky, always a little strange. And I think that this one, particularly with teams that know each other well and that are going to play each other close, at least we hope. At least we hope for you, Chris, that they play each other close. You know,
anything could be better after last week.
I know you're still hurting from the Auburn game. I know, but I think that a turnover in the early parts, or someone who sets the tone, the team that sets the tone early, I think is going to have a huge advantage, particularly with if LSU is able to hold a Ralph and shut down the Mississippi State rushing offense. I think that would quiet the crowd, and I would be very concerned.
Yeah, I hope they don't quiet the cowbells down at all tonight. So.
Well, right, and so it's an interesting matchup, seeing one of the top rushing defenses versus Mississippi State's top rushing offense, which is kind of fun to see.
Good battle in the trenches.
Right, of course, and I'm leaning more towards LSU, but I don't want to hurt your feelings too much.
I mean, at this point, you can't do much harm, after last week. But anyway, let's talk about Tennessee and Florida. Muschamp, first SEC game, pretty much his opener, and the opener down at the Swamp for SEC play.
Right, and I think that this is a quiet battle for the SEC's title, and something that hasn't gotten a lot of play, at least for right now, since it is Derek Dooley and Will Muschamp. It's not
Tennessee looked awfully good against Cincinnati.
Exactly, and I think that Derek Dooley and Muschamp both need to get credit, and also a little bit of Charlie Weiss for getting John Brantley, the quarterback at Florida, getting him clicking and getting him going. I think that it's going to be a fun game to watch, and a sleeper game for whoever wins it would definitely have a lot of momentum going into a matchup with South Carolina, and of course with UGA when UGA goes down to Florida goes to Jacksonville for the game against Florida. Yeah,
we'll be looking for that around Halloween. It's around that time in October. Florida State, Oklahoma. Now there's a barn burner for Saturday.
Yeah, and hopefully it doesn't get too out of control. I think that if it does get too out of control, tempo-wise, Florida State is in a lot of trouble, and that was something that happened last year. Oklahoma State,
they just kind of almost gave up,
running them through in that first and second quarter, and really Florida State couldn't handle the up tempo.
Yeah, I'm thinking if Oklahoma does get up by a touchdown or better, or let's say a couple touchdowns, I think they may just run the clock out and just pound it home.
Yeah, and they actually should be able to do that this year more. And Oklahoma has still got a very potent offense, and that hasn't changed. And I think that Florida State, E.J. Manuel is really going to have to control the game, and this is going to be really a first big test
for him.
And it's kind of fun to see a number 1 versus a number 5, and E.J. Manuel really needs to he could prove a lot by showing up and doing well this week coming up. And I think that Oklahoma will win. Another question is obviously looking at quarterback Landry Jones for Oklahoma. He's struggled in the past with away games. They lost at Missouri, they lost at Texas A&M, and even they played Cincinnati early on in 2010, and they almost lost there. So Landry Jones has not always shown well in road games. So this is his chance to go into to Florida State Stadium and win a big game. And
really not a game that hopefully too many folks aren't concerned about. Coastal Carolina visiting between the hedges. What do you think about Georgia going? I mean, obviously we like Georgia in this one, probably going away with it. But what's the test for Mark Richt here?
I mean, there's no test. The only test would be as if they lost this game. There's no test for Georgia here. They just win, and it'll be good to get a win under their belt. It's particularly for a team as young as Georgia. You need to get some wins, and hopefully they can
build some confidence and build a little mental capacity there as far as strength goes.
I don't think there's any concern that Georgia will take this one.
All right. Well, that's all for football now.